Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at my double legacy Shadow Mewtwo in Psychic Cup. Shadow Mewtwo is very difficult to use because it literally cannot take a hit from barely anything in this entire meta, but if you can set it up correctly, it just goes through entire teams. It hits so hard. I've paired it with Alolan Raichu because Alolan Raichu is very good at forcing shields off of the opponent, and then also Malamar because, well, I didn't really know what to use as the third and I kind of just wanted the general list. I think Malamar is pretty good. Overall, I would definitely not recommend using this team if you have plans of climbing, but I managed to have so much fun with this team and the battles are absolutely insane. Let's take a look at some Mewtwo destruction. Going into the first game, we lead into Galarian Rapidash, a pretty neutral lead for Alolan Raichu. In this matchup, I generally like to go for the Thunder Punch because a Wild Charge would one-shot them and they have so much energy they basically have to shield it. But the opponent just completely disregards that and they call the Thunder Punch. Nice call by the opponent, and then they also bait me with a Body Slam. We catch the next Body Slam on Malamar because in this team I generally like to save shields for Alolan Raichu and Mewtwo. So we catch the move on our Sponge/Sacrifice in Malamar, and then they bring in a Galarian Slowbro. We can make it to a foul play before they can make it to a move after 6. And it does big damage to the Galarian Slowbro, but they will be able to pace us to another move before we can make it to the next foul play. But this puts them into good farm range for Alolan Raichu, so I'm hoping you can bring in the Alolan Raichu, farm them down before they make it to another move, but they're just about able to make it to another move with the Galarian Slowbro. Raichu is very frail, so we basically have to shield it up in order to keep some health on the Alolan Raichu. And then they bring in the Galarian Slowking, and this is really not an ideal situation because we're 2 shields down. We go for the first Thunder Punch, and then we need to force the last shield from the Galarian Slowking, but we also need it to not come out with any energy so that we can outpace to the side strike with Mewtwo before they make it to a Shadow Ball. So I go for one more Volt Switch and then I wait 2 turns to get the CMP tie with the Surf from the Galarian Slowking, to get the shield from the Galarian Slowking and also force them into leaving this matchup with no energy. Now there's 4 hexes away from the next Shadow Ball, so we can bring in the Mewtwo, throw in the middle of the hex to make sure it's not caught, and now we just have to hope that a Side Strike from Mewtwo is enough to take out the Galarian Slowking. Side Strike takes out the Galarian Slowking. In the back, we farm down the Galarian Rapidash, and that is a very good game. In the next game, we lead into Galarian Rapidash. Once again, I've been seeing so many of these today, which makes a lot of sense because yesterday I saw a lot of Malamars, so I'm guessing this is a response to those. Once again, I'm gonna go for the Thunder Punch because surely the last opponent was just crazy. This opponent will of course, they no-shielded it again. Do you realize that you have to shield this move, opponent? No, they don't. Then they bring in a Galarian Slowking. We shield up a higher horsepower this time around, which is really nice. I like to go for 2 Volt Switches with Alolan Raichu before swapping out into Malamar for 2 reasons. By going for 2 Volt Switches do more damage than Psycho Cuts, so you put it into a range where 1 foul play from Malamar is enough to take out the Galarian Slowking, whereas if you swap out immediately, 1 foul play will not be enough to take out the Galarian Slowking. You have to throw 2, and also getting energy on Alolan Raichu is just always very nice because you can hit basically everything in this meta except for Claydol with the energy from Alolan Raichu. They shield twice on their Galarian Slowking. We bring back in the Alolan Raichu. They try to catch the move on their Rapidash. We farm them all the way down. In the back, it's a Claydol. We bring in the Shadow Mewtwo and we can outpace them to a Shadow Ball. Super effective Shadow Ball from a Shadow Mewtwo. One-shots to Claydol. And in the back, it's the Galarian Slowking. We make it to the Side Strike. This will, of course, as you already know, take out the Galarian Slowking, and that is a very good game. Next game, 3 games in a row against the Galarian Rapidash leads. As I say, I've been seeing a lot of these. Surely, this time around, it was just too crazy, opponent. Surely they're gonna shield this. Please, opponent. Thank you very much. They actually shield my Thunder Punch. And now we have a shield advantage. Even if they go for the Mega Horn/high horsepower, I am okay with just taking a shield advantage because they also wouldn't come out of this with a lot of energy. But because they go for the Body Slam, I decide to actually shield up my Raichu afterwards. Go for 1 more Volt Switch up to right before they make it to a move. Wait a turn to make sure it's not caught. They try to catch it on Alolan Raichu. Instead, we save all the energy on Alolan Raichu. They go straight for the Wild Charge into our Malamar, which is a very good play because a foul play is enough to one-shot them anyways, so by throwing the Wild Charge immediately, they make sure they get it off without having to expend the shield first. Then we can take them out with the foul play, and then the Galarian Rapidash comes in to farm us all the way down. We bring back in the Alolan Raichu to throw the Thunder Punch immediately because they had so much energy to take out the Galarian Rapidash. Then we can make it to a Wild Charge on the Victini as well. This will either grab the shields, which would be great because then we can outpace with the Mewtwo, or do big damage, which might put them into farm range for the Mewtwo. We bring in the Mewtwo, they load up to the back-to-back recreate. I'm thinking my only win con at this point is that we can KO them through the shield. I'm not expecting that they're not going to shield this. Of course, we're not getting off 2 moves, so they will shield it, but maybe we can kill them through the shield because they only have 1 HP. Unfortunately, they do lift the move. They get off the second V-Crate to take out the Shadow Mewtwo, and then they quick attack down the Alolan Raichu and win the game with 1 HP. Very well played by the opponent. Next game, lead into Malamar. This is a bad lead for Alolan Raichu because you do get outpaced in all even shield scenarios, but this is also where we want to see it because Shadow Mewtwo really doesn't like Malamar. So we stay in with the Alolan Raichu. My plan is to just play out the 2 shield scenario to Volt Switch them into a range where we can deal with it later on. So we go for the Wild Charge, and then they do 1 more Psycho Cut, and then go for another Foul Play into Raichu. I'm just going to double shield, make it to another Wild Charge. Instead, they decide to catch the move, or try to catch the move on Claydol, so we respond with a Malamar, and then I make a bit of a mistake. In this matchup, you want to land a Foul Play before the Claydol makes it to a move, because if they get the debuff with Scorching Sands, which they do, 2 Foul Plays are not enough to take out the Claydol, at least not with my IVs. It might be a little bit different if you have an attack weighted Malamar, but we can make it to another Foul Play on this Claydol. We grab the shield from the Claydol, and now we go for the 3rd Foul Play. We get the 3rd Foul Play on New Mechanic, or with New Mechanic, which is absolutely huge. So very lucky. We don't want to take the energy from this Claydol anywhere, so I'm just going to bring in the Alolan Raichu, go for the Thunder Punch to take out the Claydol before it can get up any of its energy. And now we can get to the Wild Charge on this Malamar, on the CMP tie. This will of course take out the Malamar, and now it's all going to come down to what is in the back. We bring in the Mewtwo in the back. It's a Galarian Slowbro. We go up to the Side Strike, wait a turn to get off the Side Strike on the CMP tie. Because if they lift this with enough HP, I wasn't quite sure how much it would do, they might be able to overfarm and then come out with energy for the Raichu, whereas if I go for it on the CP, I force them to throw it immediately, meaning they would have to go for a pretty crazy undercharge in order to come out with energy. So that's just a really cool play. Because the Side Strike did so much, it didn't really matter, but very cool play. Next game, lead into a Feint Attack Bronzong. Bad lead, but you can make it to 2 Wild Charge against the Feint Attack Bronzong. They try to catch a move on their Claydol. We bring in the Malamar once again, and this time we're going to throw the Foul Play before they get off the Scorching Sands to make sure we can take out the Claydol with only 2 moves. Because they have so much fast move pressure on this team in both Bronzong and Claydol, I'm actually deciding to shield up my Malamar, because I'm thinking that if I let the Malamar go, they're just going to fast move through my entire team. Mewtwo is not the biggest fan of taking Feint Attacks either. And then I farm up to 100 energy, or very close to 100 energy, and then go for the Foul Play into the Claydol in the back. It's another fast move heavy Pokemon, and this is the reason I decided to run Hyper Beam after this game, because they no-shield the Foul Play. We were at the potential Hyper Beam, and then we can bring in the Raichu, load up to the back-to-back Thunder Punches, go for the first one because Gardevoir is very frail, wait a turn to make sure the Thunder Punch is not caught, because they swap out into the Bronzong. We could load up to the Wild Charge instead, throw it into the Bronzong, grab the shield from the Bronzong, but the Bronzong has a lot of energy. They farm up to 4 away from the back-to-back Heavy Slam. If I counted correctly, it's 9 for the first, 8 for the second. So we have to only throw 4 more Psycho Cuts, go for the Shadow Ball on the CMP. We wanted to overfarm as much as possible to come out with as much energy to potentially get to the Side Strike on the Gardevoir. This is going to be very close. We try to make it to the Side Strike, but Mewtwo gets farmed down by the Gardevoir, and that is a very, well, not a good game because I absolutely hated the opponent's team. But yeah, GG. Next game, lead into another Malamar. Again, bad lead, but kind of happy to see it on the lead and not on Mewtwo later on. They go for the Foul Play immediately, and then we can do 2 more Volt Switches, wait a turn to make sure it's not caught, because I did have 1 Wild Charge and 1 Thunder Punch that was caught on the Claydol in some of these games, and it was a very painful experience, not gonna lie. They go for another Foul Play before we can make it to another Wild Charge, and we do shield it up, and then we can do 2 more Volt Switches, and then go for the 3rd Wild Charge, or the 2nd Wild Charge on the CMP with the Malamar. This will probably get shielded and then it will probably take us out, which is how it usually goes, but now we have put the Malamar low enough with the wall twitches to where we can deal with it later on. We bring in the Malamar, they bring in a Galarian Rapidash, and then I make a massive misplay. I let them get to a potential Mega Horn before I even get off a move. I was kind of panicking because I didn't really see a win con if they had Mega Horn. Luckily, they don't have Mega Horn. So we can take the high horsepower, go up to right before they make it to a body slam, full send the Hyper Beam to one-shot the Rapidash. Now it's all going to come down to what is in the bag. We wait to see what's in the bag. It's a poison psychic type. We bring in the Mewtwo. We get to the side strike on the CMP, which Mewtwo will of course win against the Galarian Slowking. It barely doesn't take out the Slowking, but it does a lot of damage. This is only a serve. This might actually be a move that Mewtwo can live. We do live it. We get off one more Psycho Cut, which turns out to be absolutely massive. As we bring in the Malamar, they bring in their own Malamar. We get to the foul play on their Malamar, and now this is going to come down to a fast move of Psycho Cut versus Hexes. Malamar takes out the Galarian Slowking with 1 HP in a dream, and that is a very good game. Next game, into another Galarian Rapidash. Once again, I'm not going to change the way I play this. Those people earlier on were crazy. I am the one doing the right things here. As we're going to see, this opponent, nice. They actually shielded it up, which is really nice. I'm just going to take my my shield advantage if they decide to go for the Mega Horn / high horsepower. And this time, I'm actually going to let the body slam go. The second time, I'm just going to take the shield advantage and run with it, bring in the Mewtwo afterwards, see where that can take me. I'm a little bit afraid of there potentially being a Malamar in the back, and I did have one opponent that tried to catch a move on the Malamar. I would really like them to try to catch a move so I can bring my own Malamar onto their Malamar, so I try to incentivize them to try to catch the move by making it look like I was going to throw on the CMP. Instead, they just go for the body slam, and we have to expend 2 shields on the Shadow Mewtwo because Shadow Mewtwo cannot take any charge moves. We go for the side strike before they can make it to another one to take out the Galarian Rapidash. Then they bring in a Galarian Slowking. We farm up a lot of energy. They try to catch on their Malamar, and we bring in Malamar on their Malamar. Very lucky that they decided not to bring their own Malamar onto our own Mewtwo. But now we can make it to a foul play, and then the opponent will be able to make it to a Hyper Beam. You either have to land 3 moves in this matchup or land a Hyper Beam and a foul play, which is a little bit less energy. I won't be able to make it to a Hyper Beam before they make it to another foul play, so I just settle for the foul play to bring them very low. And then my opponent decides to make an interesting play. They would definitely be able to outpace me here, but instead they decide to let me get to my foul play, to leave me in farm range and energy dry, which is a kind of an interesting play, I think. But the Galarian Slowbro can't farm down the Malamar, so they have to expend energy on the Malamar. Now we have a ton of energy on the Mewtwo. I'm not quite sure a side strike would be enough to take out the Galarian Slowbro, so this is, or the Galarian Slowking, so we go for the bait. They call it, it doesn't matter. The side strike takes out Galarian Slowking, and that is a very good game. Next game, lead into a Victini. Not the best lead in the world because Victini just outpaces the Alolan Raichu. Then go up to 7 and then they go for a move. This can potentially be an overheat. They only go for the V-Create, meaning they come out of it with 2 quick attacks worth of energy. They bring in a Malamar and we go for 2 more Volt Twitches to bring them into a range where 2 foul plays will be enough to take them out and also save a bunch of energy on Raichu, which will be useful against pretty much everything. We can make it to a foul play before they make it, or make it to the Hyper Beam and bait with the foul play before they make it to another foul play. They unfortunately called it, and then they again let me get to another foul play before they go for their own. I'm thinking once again this might be because they have a Galarian Rapidash in the back and they're gonna try to farm me down, leave me energy dry and in farm range, which is a very cool play. But once again, we just about make it to the foul play, meaning they're either gonna have to take the foul play or expend energy with the Rapidash. Now we can bring back in the Alolan Raichu, go straight for the Wild Charge because we have so much energy with the Raichu. It one-shots the Galarian Raichu in the back. They still have that Victini. They had 2 quick attacks from earlier, and this Victini is loading up energy very quickly. As we go for the first Thunder Punch, we can make it to the second Thunder Punch. They're just loading up a lot of energy. I'm staying in with my Raichu because I want them to throw some energy into my Raichu. They overfarm a lot, and they come out with a lot of energy from this matchup. This is going to come down to, because Mewtwo is not going to be able to live a charge move from this Victini, this is going to come down to, can we make it to a side strike before they make it to 2 more V-Creates? Mewtwo going for the side strike. We make it to the side strike on the CMP with the V-Create. Mewtwo, of course, wins the CMP, and we take out the Victini. And that is another very good game. Next game, Nightmare lead. If the opponent decides to just double shield their Gardevoir, it basically goes through my entire team. This time they decide to try and catch a move on their Claydol, which actually gives me some play. I'm very much expecting there to be a Bruxish in the back, which is why I respond with the Mewtwo to save the Malamar for the Bruxish, and we go for the bait with the Side Strike. We grab the shield from the Claydol, they go for a move as well. Now this is gonna be close. We shield up the Scorching Sands and we just about make it to the Shadow Ball on this Claydol, and as we saw earlier, this will of course one-shot the Claydol, and now we have switch advantage, but the Gardevoir is still a big problem because it's already brought the Raichu very, very low. We can bring in the Raichu, but we won't be able to make it 2-2 moves with the Raichu because we would just get charmed down then, so we go for the Thunder Punch, they shield it up, we have to bring in our Dark type on the Charmer, and this is absolutely terrible as they make it to a move. I'm expecting that they might try to bring in the Bruxish here, so I don't want to throw it immediately. I want to make sure that if they bring the Bruxish, I can farm up to 2 foul plays, go for it on the back-to-back, hoping that 1 foul play will be enough to take out the Bruxish, so we have the second one for the Gardevoir. It's not enough. They bite down the Malamar, and then they bite out the Alolan Raichu as well, and that is a very good game. Next game, another Shadow Gardevoir, and this is so annoying. This time we can make it to the Thunder Punch. We simply can't make it to 2 Thunder Punches with a loaded Raichu on the Shadow Gardevoir, so we just have to let it go down, bring in the Mewtwo, and if they shield up this Side Strike, they've basically won the game because then they get the Gardevoir onto the Malamar, but they decide to no shield it. And then we can bring in the Malamar, they bring in a Bruxish, and then they have a Claydol in the back. This is basically always the team when you see a Shadow Gardevoir in the lead. So we make it to 1 foul play on the Claydol, does a lot of damage, and then we can make it to another foul play before they make it to a move on the Claydol. It of course takes 7 mud slaps for them to get to a move. Foul play takes out the Claydol. Now we need to get to back foul plays on this Bruxish, and as we saw earlier, 1 might not be enough to take out the Bruxish. These Psycho Cuts are actually doing some damage to the Bruxish, but this is still going to be very close. We make it to the first foul play. This will of course grab the shield from the Bruxish, and now we throw the second foul play on this Bruxish. Will it KO? Yes, it will. We take out the Bruxish and we overcome the ridiculous fast move team, and that just made me smile a lot. Next game, lead into Galarian Slowbro. Pretty good lead for Alolan Raichu because these two pays to Wild Charge / Surf at the same time, and Raichu does win the CMP, so we can lower to the back-to-back Wild Charge, throw the first one into the Galarian Slowbro, and if they shield it up, we can just throw the second one as well. They decide to no shield it, and then they bring in a Bruxish afterwards. We go straight for the Wild Charge because in this situation specifically, we really want to keep switch advantage to get Malamar onto the Bruxish, and we want to give the Bruxish as little farm as possible before bringing in the Malamar. A foul play is not quite enough to take out the Bruxish from this range, so I would rather overfarm a lot, make sure that I can come out of this with a lot of energy, and then throw the foul play when we load up to 99 energy with the Malamar. They only went for the Psychic Fangs, which is kind of nice. We take out the Bruxish with the foul play, and then we can overfarm, go for another foul play. We just want to grab the shield from this Galarian Slowking, and then we can bring in the Mewtwo afterwards. We grab the shield from the Galarian Slowking, we bring in the Mewtwo, we outpace to the Side Strike before they can make it to back-to-back moves. Side Strike from Shadow Mewtwo takes out the Galarian Slowking, and that is another good game as my voice is absolutely disappearing. I don't know if you can hear that. Next game, lead into Galarian Rapidash. Once again, I am staying true to this way of playing this matchup. Those opponents early on were just crazy. This is the correct way. As they go for a move on alignment, giving me an entire Volt Switch through. You generally want to throw in the middle of fast moves, especially against 4-turn fast moves, because otherwise they get an entire Volt Switch through. As we go for the second Thunder Punch, and then they go for a move on CMP, meaning that they were only at 5, so this can only be a Body Slam. It takes 6 for the Mega Horn after a Body Slam. So I knew that there was only a Body Slam, we can live it, and then they bring in a Claydol, we bring in the Malamar, we go for the foul play before they can make it to a Scorching Sands. Does a lot of damage to the Claydol, they will be able to make it to a move, we don't really have to shield this up, we can just save our shield advantage for the Mewtwo, take the Scorching Sands. I try to come out of this with back-to-back foul plays, but I'm not quite sure I'm going to be able to lift the last Mud Slap. So we farm up to almost back-to-back foul plays, throw it into the Claydol, and then we can make it to a foul play. I thought they were going to bring back in the Galarian Rapidash, so I threw it, but it was the Malamar instead. It doesn't really do a lot of damage. We farm up to the foul play, save the foul play with the Malamar, bring in the Raichu to force them to throw some energy into the Raichu. They're at 9 Psycho Cuts now. They throw 5. So now they're 6 away from the back-to-back foul plays because it always takes 5 for the foul plays. So they will get to the back-to-back foul plays at the exact same time as we get to the Shadow Ball. So I have to make a call. Do I expect them to throw the foul play? Then I want to throw in CMP, or do I expect the catch? I expect the catch. They throw it immediately. So I wanted to overfarm it in case they caught it. They throw it immediately. Super effective damage into Mewtwo. Will of course take it out. And that is a good game. Next game, lead into a Kanto Slowbro, good lead for a Alolan Raichu, and they swap out into a Galarian Slowking, and this time I make a mistake. I swap out into the Malamar immediately. As I said earlier, you need those 2 volt switches in order to put them into a range where 1 foul play is enough to take them out. And also, then I could have got some energy on Raichu. As we're gonna see here, 1 foul play is not enough to take out the Galarian Slowking, and because it takes 5 for the Shadow Ball and then 3 for the Surf afterwards, we have to go for the CMP with the next foul play in order to take them out before they can get it off. A little bit risky because it is an IV dependent CMP, and also I try to I don't throw my foul play here because I know that I'm gonna lose the CMP, so I might as well overfarm, try to threaten the Hyper Beam. But they just take us out with the Galarian Rapidash. They come up with energy, but they don't farm up to the Mega Horn here. They go for the Body Slam after 5, so we can actually take it with the Mewtwo. I wait a turn, look and see that the Rapidash is still there to make sure we throw it into the Rapidash. But I think my opponent might have waited the turn, or maybe there was some lag, but they ended up catching the Side Strike on the Slowbro instead, which is actually pretty fine with me because it puts them into a range where we can get a perfect farm down by shielding once. The Rapidash is on 1 Fairy Wind, meaning they're 7 away from the back-to-back Body Slams, so 14 turns. I'm 3 Voltages away from the 3 Wild Charges, so that's 12 turns, meaning I should, if I'm calculating correctly, be able to outpace them to 3 Wild Charges before they make it to 2 Body Slams, which is why I decided not to bait, go for the 3 Wild Charges, the second one lands on the shield, and we get to the 3rd Wild Charge on the CMP with the Galarian Rapidash to take them out, and that is another good game. That was the last battle for today, and overall I would obviously not recommend this team for climbing. That being said, I actually didn't drop that much elo using it, and I had a ton of fun using it as well. Other than that, fun fact of the day, and I know I have mentioned this before, but I feel like it's very relevant with the current Psychic event going on. A Medicham with a low HP stat can get a breakpoint and a bulk point in the mirror match, making it so much better against other Medichams. I would highly recommend checking Swag Tips' video, which I have linked in the description, if you want to learn more about what types of IVs to look for in your Medicham in order to get these breakpoints and bulk points. Other than that, if you liked the video, remember to leave a like, and also if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. And of course, a massive thank you to the members of the channel. Your support is very much appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.